Hello, I am Merja Roomet, Chief Expert from the Estonian Tax and Customs Board, and I introduce you income tax return procedure for natural persons in Estonia. At first, I give you a brief introduction about income taxation for natural persons, and later more technical information about submission of annual tax declaration for natural persons in Estonia. If you like to receive more detailed information about taxation, you can find this guidance on the website of the Estonian Tax and Customs Board, or if it is not enough, you can always turn to our customer support. How to declare income in Estonia. If you have the Estonian payer, then they must declare taxable payments to natural persons and calculate and pay taxes to the Estonian Tax Administration monthly. The due date is the 10th day of the month following the payment. Now, that is true for all persons in Estonia, but not for general natural persons. Payer. So, if you have the Estonian payer in Estonia, for example, employer, they normally do not pay you gross income, but you should know that you already receive net payment where income tax has been withheld, and in case of employment income, also unemployment contributions and pension, compulsory pension contribution have been withheld. This information has been given to the Estonian Tax Administration by your payer, and later when you open your tax return online, you can find this information already pre-filled by the Estonian Tax Administration to your tax return. This is true for only some types of income, mostly active type of income as employment income, payment for services provided by natural persons, rental income, pensions, interests, royalties, scholarships, grants, benefits, and awards. And as I already said, that kind of income tax already withheld by payer is pre-filled to the tax return of the recipient. You can find also other information as the information about payer and amount paid and all the taxes withheld. But what if you have some other type of income? For example, you have received gain or loss from transfer of property. In such a case, a natural person receives gross income. There is no income tax withheld from it. But as in Estonia, in case of transfer of property, only gain is taxable by income tax. You should fill in the acquisition cost and transfer costs directly related to the transfer yourselves. Those costs may be filled into the tax return only if you have document about it. In Estonia, gain from transfer of property is taxable by general income tax rate. We do not have any separate tax rate for transfer of property. And if taxable, it shall be declared by the recipient of the income. And the acquisition cost should be declared in the period of sale of property, not when you paid for the purchase of property. You receive income, then in the same period you should fill in the acquisition cost if you have documents about it and if this cost is directly related to the property. And that kind of information is not pre-filled in your tax return online. For example, what is the property which transfer is taxable in Estonia? Real estate, including land, buildings, apartments, and so on. Then securities and financial assets. Actually, in Estonia, we have two methods of declaration of transfer of securities, which are financial assets, and I give you a brief information about it later. Then forest cutting right and timber is taxable in Estonia and should be declared even if you have the opportunity to carry forward the taxable profit or costs related to that income for a period of 3 years. Still, you have to declare it even if in that period you do not have this tax obligation for forest cutting right and timber. Also, cryptocurrency sale and exchange is generally regarded to be transfer of property by type of income in Estonia in taxation, and electricity sale for natural persons, where we also have exemption, where this electricity has been produced from renewable energy source with a net capacity up to 15 kilowatts. Actually, we have more tax exemptions available in Income Tax Act in Estonia, but I only give you a brief introduction of some most popular ones. For example, transfer of one home within a period of 2 years is tax-free. If you have more homes and sold within 2 years, then another one and the next one is taxable. Only one is tax-free. And as I said, upon financial assets, it is also possible to use special tax method of investment account, where are different rules where in the period of sale of financial assets, the income is not taxable, but it is taxable only if taken out from the investment. But I give you a brief information now. Those securities or shares shall be financial assets, which detailed information you can find on our website. Also, interests and dividends from those financial assets can be used. This investment account is normal money account, and all those investments should be done through that bank account, which you name investment account in your tax return, and it is used for option to postpone the payment of income tax to period when payment is made out from the account. So the gain from transfer of financial assets is not taxable in the year of receipt, but the income is only taxable when payment is made out from the investment account and the payment exceeds the previous contribution into the investment account. Thus, in case of that method, every year you should declare contributions to and payments out from the investment account, but not the transfer of shares. And if you even do not have any transfer on that investment account during the exact taxable period, then you just have to click the button that you didn't have any transactions. Lots of banks enable their clients in Estonia to forward information from banks to the tax return online in the tax and customs board. So if you start to declare your income in Estonia and you have this special investment account system in your use, then it is very wise to start from the bank account, to log into your bank and send this information from bank to the tax return, because you should do it yourselves. And then if you open later the tax return, you can find this information already prefilled to the right table of the tax return. In general, if you do not use the investment account, and if you do not have just transfer of property, but you are active as business person, then in Estonia, profit is taxable from business activity also. You normally receive gross income in case of business activity, and in tax return you have the opportunity to deduct expenses directly related to business, which are documented also. But it is only possible for registered sole proprietors. They should be registered either in Estonia or in another member country of the European Economic Area. And then you can calculate profit or loss from this business activity, and loss may be carried forward for several years in Estonia also. But in case of business activity, in addition to income tax, you should also pay social tax and funded pension payment if you have joined the third pillar of the Estonian tax, the second pillar of the Estonian funded pension system, second pillar. So what is business income? It is normally known that costs which are documented and directly related to business may be deductible only for registered sole proprietors in Estonia. But also it is important to know that in case of business income, you should declare those costs in the period where those costs were paid or done. They are not just this is different from the logic of declaration of gain from transfer of property, that costs are declared in the period where they have been paid and made. Examples of business income is, of course, production, sale or intermediation of goods, provision of services or other activities, including creative or scientific activity. But also it is important to know that if you are active through various online platforms or on websites, as for example, influencer, intermediate of service or freelancer, this type of income is also taxable as business income in Estonia. In Estonia, we have also, in case of business income, special opportunity to use entrepreneur account when you have not been registered as a sole proprietor, if your business income is only received occasionally and the amount of income does not exceed 40 euros. Then it is possible for you to open an entrepreneur account in some banks in Estonia. And in case of payment made to that bank account, which is entrepreneur account, the tax is withheld from the amount by bank automatically upon payment, and the reception does not have to bother about the declaration of taxes. Everything is done already. This tax includes also social part and VAT part, although it is much less than those all taxes together. It is not 50%. This picture is only for illustration to show that if you receive payment to this entrepreneur account, the tax is withheld, for example, 20%, or depending on if you have joined the second pillar of pension, this may be more than 20%. But the problem is that in case of choosing this simple entrepreneur account, there is no possibility to deduct any costs directly related to this business, even if you have documents about it. It is just gross amount and a smaller amount of tax, but no deduction of costs at all. This information about entrepreneur account is pre-filled to your tax return also. Although you do not have to pay any additional tax, you can see this in your tax return. Now, in case you have income from abroad and you are the Estonian tax resident, then you should also declare the income received from foreign countries in the Estonian tax return, even if foreign income tax has already paid in another country. Still, you have to declare this income, including this foreign income tax, to the Estonian tax return, and you should have the document about this income and this foreign income tax. This information is not pre-filled in the Estonian tax return, although we receive information from other countries through exchange of information procedure, but still this foreign income is not pre-filled. So in case of foreign income tax has been paid, the avoidance of double taxation and calculation of the Estonian income tax is done in the tax return. Double taxation is avoided depending on the type of income, and it may be deduction of the foreign income tax or exemption of the foreign income from the Estonian income taxation. You should read through the instruction in the tables of the foreign income in the tax return and find the right place to fill in the income depending on the type of income and also country of source, and then calculation about double taxation is done by the application of the Tax and Customs Board already in the tax return. Now, types of income which are also pre-filled in the Estonian tax return are dividends paid by the Estonian payer, although there is no additional income tax obligation to be paid on such kind of dividends. And as I already said, the information about entrepreneur account can be found in this tax return, although it is final tax and nothing is done with it, you just can see there. And also, if you have transactions via the Baltic Securities account, then this information is pre-filled in your tax return. But please pay attention that you should fill in the acquisition cost yourselves, because only the selling price is pre-filled to the table in case of Baltic Securities account, and there is no information about acquisition cost pre-filled. If you have documents about it and this acquisition cost is for that property or those shares, then you should fill in this acquisition cost yourselves. In case of the general method, because as I said, in case of investment account information, you do not have to declare sale and purchase, but just payments in and out from the investment account. Now, if you open the tax return online in Estonia, you can also find some costs already pre-filled in your e-tax return, which are deductible from the taxable amount in Estonia. For example, the Estonian receptions of the costs must declare payments received for training and donations to charities, because in specific situations, those are deductible from the Estonian taxable income. And as recipients of costs have declared this information, the Estonian Tax and Customs Board refills this information to your tax return, and you can find it there. If you find that something is wrong there, then please turn to the recipient of the costs at first, and maybe they have done mistakes, and then they should correct it, and then the information can be reloaded to the tax return again. Tax administration fills in your tax-free amount depending on your circumstances. So you shall not or cannot calculate this tax-free amount according to the Estonian regulation yourselves. It is totally done by the application of the Tax and Customs Board, tax-free amount or basic exemption. And you, as I said already, unemployment contribution and mandatory pension contribution withheld by employers is also already pre-filled, and normally it does not change anything in your tax return. You just can find that information there. If you have contributions to the third pension pillar, then you can, in Estonia, then you can find this Estonian information in your tax return pre-filled, and thus if you submit tax return, those contributions are taken into account and deducted by the application of the Tax and Customs Board from your taxable income. Now here is a little example of the calculation, just for you to understand. You do not have to do it yourselves, but you may check if everything is okay. For example, if you have received income of 10,000 euros annually, and income tax has been withheld from the very first euro, for example, 22% income tax rate, and no tax-free amount has been taken into account by your payer, then there is an opportunity to use this tax-free amount in your tax return. Normally, in order to enable your payer to take into account this tax-free amount, you should submit application to the payer to apply for use of tax-free amount. This is done once and to your payer, not to the tax administration. But later, annually, if you submit tax return, then you do not have to do any application anymore. Just this tax-free amount is taken into account according to the rules applicable according to the Estonian Income Tax Act. Now, for example, this person has already done contributions to third pillar in Estonia, 1,500 euros. Then please pay attention that there are restrictions to this deduction. Only 15% of income or 6,000 euros can be deducted in case of contribution to third pillar. This limit is also calculated by the application of tax return, this application chooses the limit which is smaller, and to go on, if this are only allowed in case of real schools which have accredited which are known to the Ministry of Education in Estonia. And if those training costs are accredited and documented, then those may be deducted from your income in the Estonian tax return, but there is also a limit to this deduction, which is 50% of your total income or 1,200 euros, depending on which is less. And this limit is also calculated by tax administration. In our in our example, the refund of overpaid income tax is the whole amount, the total amount of income tax withheld, but it is not always so because there are limits, as I said. So, but it may be that in case of smaller amounts of income, the whole amount of income tax is refunded, especially when there has been no tax-free amount used during the tax year. How do I know? Must I submit tax return? If you are not sure, then I suggest you to just submit tax return. But actually, if you do not have any additional income to that already pre-filled, then you do not have to submit tax return if tax has already calculated correctly by your payer. But if you need some kind of amendments, for example, tax-free amount has not been used as allowed according to the Estonian Income Tax Act, then you shall submit tax return. Also, if you have additional income which has not been withheld, but which is taxable in Estonia, you shall declare it and pay tax yourself on the tax return. And also there are some deductions available from the taxable amount in Estonia for natural persons, which are not taken into account by your payer, even if you have such kind of payer who has the obligation to withhold income tax from your payments. So in order to receive refund and to deduct some costs allowed according to law, you shall submit tax return in Estonia. And there are some cases where you shall declare income even if you do not have any additional income tax to be paid. For example, in case of registered sole proprietor in Estonia, if they didn't have any business income, they still have to submit tax return. And for example, dividends received abroad and taxed there are tax-free in Estonia, but still you have to declare those, even if you do not have any additional obligation to pay income tax in Estonia. Then, if you use investment account as special method for financial assets taxation, then you shall declare this information even by clicking that there has been no transaction annually. You shall submit tax return if you want to carry forward losses from transfer of securities in general methods, not in case of investment account, but if you do not have investment account and you just sell shares or securities and you have chosen the normal method of taxation, then you can use the opportunity to carry forward losses from transfer of securities forever. And in order to do that, you shall declare that loss annually. If you have received gain from transfer of felled timber or forest cutting right, you shall fill it in even if you use the opportunity to carry forward to postpone the moment of taxation, to carry forward property for 3 years or use costs done in 1 year to the following 3 years, then you shall declare it annually. And if, for example, accidentally, two payers have used tax-free amount in calculating the income tax to be withheld from your income, you have, for example, two employments, then you shall declare this tax-free amount, one tax-free amount, and pay income tax from it yourself. As I said, all types of income, taxable income from abroad shall be declared, even if there is a method of exemption applicable for that kind of foreign income in Estonia. If you declare that tax-free income in the right place in tax return, there will be no additional income tax to be paid in Estonia, but still it should be declared for information purposes. Or if you have, for example, received taxable income from persons who didn't withheld income tax from it, for example, rental income from natural persons, or occasionally business income from natural persons, and so on. Any kind of taxable income from which income tax has been not withheld, you shall declare yourself. But tax return is also needed to use opportunity to deduct additional costs to receive refund. As I said earlier, maybe you didn't use basic exemption, you can use it in your tax return. If you have applicable training costs which are deductible, or donations to non-profit organizations, to charities, contributions to voluntary pension fund or insurance, even abroad, if they meet the restrictions applicable in income tax return, they are deductible, but you shall fill it in yourself. And if you have mandatory social security contributions in a foreign country, those are not fulfilled, but may be deductible from your taxable income in Estonia, and you shall fill those in yourself. But please, I would like to draw attention that if you use this very simple entrepreneur account where tax is withheld already by bank in a smaller amount of tax rate, then there is no opportunity to deduct business expenses, but even more, you cannot use any basic exemption or other costs deductible from that entrepreneur account. And not social security payments in foreign countries or contributions to voluntary pension fund. Those are also not deductible. This tax withheld is really final. Now about joint tax return for spouses or registered partners in Estonia, we do not have such kind of opportunity. Every person is separate tax person in Estonia, but still there is a limited opportunity to transfer training costs not used by one spouse to deduct taxable income from taxable income to a spouse or registered partner who has received less income. And this opportunity is offered automatically by the system, but only to spouses or registered partners who are registered in Estonia, in the Estonian registers. Then this opportunity is offered automatically. You cannot do it yourself if the system does not offer you that opportunity. But just in case the spouse whose annual income is lower or who has more deductible incentives submit their income tax return first, then this opportunity is offered by the system only. Now some words, technical words about tax return procedure. And the tax return is submitted annually, and for income tax has to be declared in the following year. The declaration period starts from the 15th of February of the following year of income received, and the due date for tax return or last date to declare is the last day of April of the year following the receipt of income. But don't be afraid, if you are a little bit late, you still have the opportunity to declare income later. But there may be interests or additional costs because of later submission of tax return, but still it is possible to declare later. For example, if you receive documents about your foreign income later, if you receive those before the last day of payment, which is the 1st of October of the year of the tax return declaration, then everything shall be okay still. But if you submit your tax return later than the 1st October of the following year, then really penalties and interests may apply. How to reach out our e-service and tax return. You should have the opportunity to log in to our e-service. You can find those buttons in the right corner of the website of the Tax and Customs Board, e-services, and normally in the period of tax return declaration, you can directly reach the tax return then. But you can log into our e-service only if you have the Estonian ID card or a mobile ID or smart ID and some electronic ID cards of some European Union countries may also be used in order to log in to our e-service. It is always very useful to use this logged in service because information is then pre-filled. You can fill everything yourself there and see what happens and correct information and everything. So it is very useful to use this online e-tax return. But when you do not have such opportunity, it is also possible to apply for refilled tax return. You shall contact our service bureaus and ask for it. That you receive pre-filled tax return where you can just fill in on paper information which is needed and sign it and send it back. Tax return in Estonia is also available for non-residents who are residents in another European Economic Area member country. But of course, mostly this tax return is meant to residents of Estonia. But when you are still non-resident, but resident in another European Economic Area country and you receive income from Estonia, then you have the opportunity to log in to our e-service and fill in your Estonian income in this online tax return and also deduct expenses which are applicable also to the Estonian tax residents. But your foreign income, which is derived outside of Estonia, is not taxable in Estonia. But you can submit your Estonian taxable income tax return here. If you are from the third country and you have the Estonian taxable income, then the only opportunity for you to submit tax return is on paper or by PDF, which is signed by some, for example, if you are e-resident, you can sign it but then sign it and send it to us. If you open when you open the Estonian tax return online, you can see lines of headings of tables. You just have to find the right table where is the type of income you want to fill in, and then you can open it from the plus mark and then you start to fill in information. If you have already filled something in, then you can see information about your income and calculation and so on. So please just find the right table depending on the type of income. In case of foreign income, there are separate tables for foreign income, which are very similar to those of Estonian income, but just there are additional places where you can fill in the foreign income tax. Now it is a picture about the table which has already been opened. In part 5.1, you can see the information about income from which income tax has already been withheld. I ask you not to change anything there. You can just have a look at it. But if you have some income which has not been withheld, open the part 2 part and you can add new lines, and you should fill in all these places here. And just here you can find income type. You can select more here, not only employment but also interests and other types of income. So there is opportunity to choose in table 5.1 some list of types of income there. If you have already, and when you have already filled in all your income, then you can find the calculation done by the tax administration also in the last page of the tax return. And you can see it, and if everything is okay, then you can confirm the tax return and submit it. But if you find something strange there, you can just go back to your tables and maybe see maybe something has been wrongly filled in or so on. You can do corrections there and even start from the beginning again. So before submission of tax return, you can do corrections. If you have the opportunity for a refundable income tax, please check if the bank account information is right in your tax return. It is in the last page of your tax return, because if we do not have this bank account information, we cannot refund the income tax overpaid. When this bank account information is filled in by you, then you do not need to submit any additional application for refund, because this tax return already is application for tax refund also. Here is a picture about the tax notice and tax calculation found in the last page. And I have marked with yellow here this link where you can view tax calculation details. It is in the following page. You can see everything there. But on this page, you can see either refundable amount of income tax or any income tax due, which is payable by you. For example, here is some amount pre-filled. And under that, you can find a place where you can leave amount for taxes which are payable in the future. For example, you can leave some amount for land tax or motor vehicle tax here. Then it is taken by tax administration to pay those other taxes which you can fill it in here. and then it is not refunded but just left to pay the future taxes. And also, if you have any kind of tax debt, then this tax debt is taken from this refundable amount and not refunded also. And you can see your tax debt also here. And here is the place where you shall fill in the bank account information if you have any refundable income tax amount. How to make corrections? Just open the table where you have filled in the information and change it. You can delete the information or correct information and even start from the beginning. If already income tax return has been submitted, it is also possible to open it and correct it. But if already income tax has been refunded, then it is not so easy to correct it. But it is possible, but at first you should contact our service bureaus in order for them to allow you to open it and correct. So my introduction is going to the end, and some words to conclude. Tax return in Estonia is used for final income tax calculation. If the pre-filled information is already correct, you do not have normally obligation to submit tax return. When you do not have any additional taxable income. But if you have foreign income, and you shall submit tax return in Estonia. It is used to avoid double taxation also. And tax return in Estonia is used for special taxation method of investment account, for example, and to carry forward losses from transfer of securities in case of general method of declaration of securities, or to postpone the moment of taxation of profit or costs of transfer of timber in Estonia. Tax return is used for opportunity to deduct costs to receive a refund of overpaid income tax, but just pay attention that if you did not have any income tax withheld in Estonia, then it is not possible to refund any income tax, even if you have costs which are deductible from the taxable income in Estonia. But when there has been no withholding of income tax in Estonia, there is nothing to refund also. And in case of sole proprietor who has been registered in Estonia, they have the obligation to submit the tax return with Annex E, even if no business income has received in that taxable year. That was the brief introduction of tax return procedure for natural persons in Estonia. In order to get more detailed information, please turn to our website, or when you cannot find your special you cannot find the answer to your special question there, please turn to our service bureau. Thank you for listening.